Hello, everybody. So here we go again. HIMS is down, based this time on recession fears. So, as I'm still trying to process yesterday's news, as I stressed yesterday, I was stressed, and I'm stressed still today because I think I don't have enough HIMS. That's what I keep thinking. I don't have enough HIMS. The more I think about HIMS, the more I think I need to build that position close to a Tesla, up to a Tesla, because the news we got yesterday was so amazing. I don't know. I don't know if people are really processing this. That means that now a lot of the funnel for Ozempic, which is still the biggest weight loss drug, a lot of that funnel is simply gonna go through HIMS. It's pretty darn outstanding, and the market, it seems like it's discounting that. It was looking for a reason to sell. Now it's trading at 42. I mean, HIMS got close to 40 yesterday, right? In the early in the days, and it dropped all day long. And now it keeps dropping to the point that if you look at the chart, we're only up 15%. We're only up 15% on this absolutely outstanding news. Like, this removes a major overhang. I get the same feeling if you follow Celsius Holdings, for example. When Celsius bought Alani, I was always worried about Celsius because I was like, well, Celsius is going to have competition from Alani. You know, a lot of women are buying Alani. They're not buying Celsius. Now, Celsius buys Alani. The big fear in my mind is gone. And so the exact same thing happened to HIMS. Even in my wildest dreams, I didn't think this would happen, especially at this price. And you know, the market is entirely discounting that, forgetting that, ignoring that. Why? Because of the GDP being down 0.3% and the market freaking out. But did we forget? Do we forget that this stock HIMS is actually recession resistant, recession proof, and, you know, perhaps anti-fragile in a recession, right? Because when are you going to look for the cheapest options? Well, the better, cheapest options, you're always going to look. But in a times of recession, you're especially going to look for the cheapest option. And HIMS has the cheapest GLP-1 now. It's got the cheapest option, period. Because, sure, I mean, this is $5.99, right? And look at how quickly they moved on their website, right? And that includes medical follow-up, medical visits, and the medication, the branded medication, for $5.99. And that's absolutely outstanding. And sure, you can talk about Roe, you can talk about LifeMD, if you're going to get close to that, right? LillyDirect is not. I went on LillyDirect and went through the telehealth recommendations that they had, and I was at $750 to $1,000. So LillyDirect is not this cheap. But Wegovy, $5.99, is already very, very cheap. But why do I say they have the cheapest GLP-1? We keep forgetting about this. People keep forgetting about this. It's the generic liraglutide. You got liraglutide. HIMS has generic liraglutide. So literally, if you wanted a GLP-1, an actual GLP-1 injection today in 2025, after the end of the shortage, after the shortage has officially ended, you can for $2.99 with HIMS for drugs that were costing, you know, $1,500, $1,800 a month. And so you're the cheapest option in a recession. In my view, people are gonna flock to HIMS. That's 0 to 1, the book 0 to 1. When something is better, easier, cheaper, people just have no choice but to go to it. And you get monopolistic scenarios and monopolistic behaviors. And sure enough, when you look at the market share of HIMS, it begins to look a lot like that trend is going to go past the 50% market share. And then we're going to consolidate. And then we're going to get into one of the biggest players out there. Why would folks quit also? Why would folks quit their most affordable, most personal healthcare, right? The rest of the business, right? The other 85% of the business are about things that are very personal and that are very cheap. The average cost outside of GLP-1s, the average cost of a medication for HIMS is $54 a month. That's the average, and that's for things that are very personal, that people are not going to quit just like that. It's things like hair loss for both men and women, right? Hair loss prescriptions to avoid your hair loss. You know, if That's important for a lot of people. ED, anxiety, right? Anxiety meds are a huge deal. In fact, if you follow the HIM sector, the second competitor is BetterHelp, and they make a lot of business prescribing. They're not even close to HIMS, but they make a lot of business prescribing this anxiety medication. People are just not going to quit this. If anything, they are more likely to access this more in the case of a recession. So I've made that point before. I keep making that point. I will keep making that point. People will look for cheaper options if there is indeed a recession, right? They'll cancel cable and they will go to the Netflix of doctors, and they'll do that in economic booms and in recessions, but they're more likely to cancel cable in a recession than in an economic boom, even more likely. And in fact, if people lose their jobs, by the way, in the US, if you don't have, let's say you lose your job and you don't have a spouse who still has insurance, oftentimes you could lose insurance, right? And if your spouse relied on you and you lost your job, well, two people could lose insurance. Well, in that case, what does that mean? In that case, HIMSS becomes an absolute no-brainer, because most people who access the health system do it for mild problems, for frankly problems that are not that big, right? Insurance, I made the case before, insurance should be used for those big issues, right? For those big problems, those big surgeries, those big cancers. That's what insurance is for. But for all of the rest, HIMSS really, in my view, is going to take over a lot of cash cow verticals. A lot of verticals that were cash cows for the doctors, they're going to be moving to a platform like HIMSS. That is my view. And not just HIMSS, right? HIMSS, LifeMD, Row. These platforms are going to take over a lot of the cash cow verticals that traditional medical office building, traditional family offices, and traditional pharmacies, of course, we're going after. And even if folks keep their job, even if people keep their job, because that's the recession talk this morning, people saying, oh, we're having a recession. Well, even if people keep their job, if times are tough, if there's a recession, avoiding that deductible is a no-brainer. And a lot of people are moving to high-deductible health plans. A lot of people, have expensive copays, sometimes $40, $50 copay with an expensive insurance. And so in that case, you look at HIMSS and you're like, okay, well, HIMSS is way cheaper, because if I add the visits plus the cost of medications, I'm at $50 a month with HIMSS, right? My copay plus my pharmacy, well, I'm actually more, and it's actually uncertain. So avoiding that deductible, even if one keeps their job, becomes more and more of a no-brainer. So HIMSS is here, and I'm very, very happy about HIMSS. It's become one of these rare stocks now where I struggle to see an overhang, except that HIMSS is the punching bag of the market, and HIMSS just like to be bounced around by the market on unrelated news or on good news. It's a great news for HIMSS, but yeah, you're gonna sell the stock on great news. So this is my conviction in this stock has grown a lot since yesterday, and you already knew this was the third biggest position. So I was already pretty darn interested in him. So the only thing I could make it better for me is if they started buying Bitcoin, but I'm not dreaming too much. Anyways, this was not financial advice, not investment advice, just entertainment. I'm on the road today, so only one video today and a quick one. So sorry about that, but please please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.